Do you believe that sometimes just one small sentence can weigh on us the whole day? I once heard someone say to me, "Teacher, I'm already 65 and I still haven't learned how not to feel hurt when others say something unkind." When I heard that, I smiled gently because in truth, we are all like that. You may have lived through more than half a lifetime, raised children, even become a grandparent, yet a single careless word from someone can still sting your heart as if you were a child again. But here's the surprising truth I want to share with you. Words themselves cannot truly hurt us unless we hand them the key. Imagine this. You are walking in the park on a beautiful morning. A stranger walks by and says, "Hey, that shirt looks terrible on you." What happens? Maybe you feel a little embarrassed, maybe annoyed. But notice, the shirt is still the same shirt you chose to wear. It still keeps you warm. It didn't suddenly become worse because of their remark. What hurt you was not the shirt. It was the moment you believed those words and allowed them to touch your sense of worth. The Buddha once gave a beautiful image. Our mind is like a lake. When someone throws in a stone, ripples appear. But after a while, the ripples fade and the water becomes still again. The real question is, do we have the patience to wait until the water clears? Or do we throw ourselves into the lake, stirring it up even more? I remember a few years ago, guiding a meditation class for seniors in Seattle. A veteran came to me and said, "Teacher, I was never afraid of bullets on the battlefield, but when my wife speaks cold words at home, it hurts me more than a wound." I looked at him and replied, "Instead of thinking she is hurting you, see that she is hurting inside herself, and what you hear is simply the echo of her pain. You see, hurtful words don't usually reflect who we are. They reflect the wounds of the person who spoke them. A person who is happy and at peace rarely harms others. Only those who are suffering pass suffering along. And when we realize this, we stop treating their words like daggers and instead hear them as sighs from a broken heart. And the wonderful thing is this: when we change our perspective, our body changes too. Neuroscience has shown that when we pause and take slow breaths instead of reacting immediately, the part of the brain responsible for calm, the prefrontal cortex, is activated. Just a few deep breaths lower blood pressure, slow the heartbeat. In other words, simply by not reacting right away, you are already protecting yourself. Here in America, we grow up in a culture that values fast reactions, respond quickly, defend yourself immediately. But sometimes a slowing down is real strength, like the oak tree standing firm in the storm. Not because it fights the wind, but because its roots go deep. Our roots are our breath, our meditation, our inner understanding. I don't need to let anyone else decide how I feel today. Try it now. Close your eyes. Recall a word that once hurt you. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Do this 3 times. Then ask yourself, does that word really define me? Or is it just a cloud passing across the sky? You may realize you are no longer chained to that word. Remember this truth. Holding on to anger is like holding a hot coal, hoping to throw it at someone else. But in the end, only you get burned. Life in your 50s or 60s already brings enough challenges: health, children, the loss of friends. We don't need to add more pain by clinging to anger. I'll tell you a small story. A 72-year-old woman once came to my meditation class. On the first day, she said, "I came here to learn how to change my husband because he often says things that hurt me." 6 weeks later, she came back smiling. "I couldn't change him, but I changed myself. And when I stopped reacting, he slowly started speaking differently too." Do you see? When we no longer let others control our emotions, the whole energy of the relationship changes. So the first lesson I want to share with you on this journey is simple yet profound. Be like the lake. No matter how many stones are thrown, it always returns to stillness. If you are over 50, take this as a gift for yourself, the gift of inner peace. Because peace is not something given by others, nor something that can be taken away. It lives in your choice. The choice to let go, the choice not to be carried away, the choice to return to your breath. And the next time someone says something unkind, smile quietly to yourself and say, "Ah, that's only the echo of a hurting heart. I don't need to carry it within me." And you'll see, something beautiful happens. Your heart feels lighter, and you walk on, calm and free, as though nothing in the world could truly touch you anymore. There is a quiet, almost invisible power that many people overlook. Gratitude. It doesn't make headlines. It doesn't shout loudly, but it can transform a life from the inside out. At the age of 50, 60, or 70, many people tell me, I feel that life has taken too much from me. They speak of health that is no longer the same, of time that seems to pass more quickly than ever before, of loved ones who have already gone. And yes, it is true. Life changes us in ways that can feel like loss. But if we pause, if we look just a little more carefully, we will realize something extraordinary. There is still so much to be grateful for. The steady rhythm of our breath, the way sunlight filters through the window in the morning, the sound of a grandchild's laughter, even the simple fact that we are here, in this moment, alive. Gratitude is not about denying pain or pretending that everything is perfect. Gratitude is about widening the lens so that we don't miss the beauty that still exists, even in difficult times. The Buddha once said something that has always stayed with me. Let us rise and be thankful. If we didn't learn much today, at least we learned a little. If we didn't learn anything, at least we did not fall ill. If we fell ill, at least we are still alive. Let us always be thankful. At first, people often laugh when they hear this. It sounds so simple, almost childlike. But the more we reflect, the more we see its truth. Gratitude is always possible. No matter how heavy our burdens may feel, there is always at least one small thing we can hold on to as a source of light. Modern science now confirms what ancient wisdom has known for centuries. Neuroscientists have discovered that when we practice gratitude, the brain releases serotonin and dopamine, chemicals that calm us and bring feelings of joy. Gratitude, in a very literal sense, heals the brain. Just a few minutes of focusing on what we appreciate can reduce blood pressure, relax the nervous system, and strengthen the immune system. Gratitude is not only a spiritual practice, it is also medicine for the body. I once worked with a retired engineer who struggled after leaving his job. He told me, I feel useless. Without work, I don't know who I am anymore. I get angry so easily. His face looked tired, his shoulders slumped. I suggested something very small. Every night, before you go to bed, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They don't have to be big. They can be as small as the taste of your morning coffee or the sound of birds outside your window. 3 months later, he returned to me, smiling in a way I had never seen before. I no longer see my life as a series of failures, he said. I see joy in small things. My coffee, my wife's laughter, even the way sunlight falls on the floor. I feel alive again. This is the power of gratitude. It doesn't change the facts of life, but it changes the way we see them. And that change of perspective can heal the heart. At a mature age, we no longer need to chase after grandeur or status. What we really seek is peace, meaning, and connection. Gratitude teaches us to find happiness in simplicity. A slow walk under the trees, a familiar smile, the comfort of breathing quietly in the morning. When we live with gratitude, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The small moments reveal themselves as treasures we may have overlooked for years. And gratitude is never selfish. It radiates outward. When you say a sincere thank you to your spouse, to your child, or even to a stranger, something shifts in the air. Gratitude warms the heart not only of the one who gives it, but also the one who receives it. It is like tossing a pebble into a lake. The ripples spread far beyond the point of impact. In this way, gratitude creates an atmosphere of kindness wherever it goes. Many people ask me, but how can I feel grateful when I am sick or when I have lost someone I love? My answer is gentle. Grief and gratitude can live side by side. You can grieve for what you have lost and at the same time give thanks for what remains. You can cry for a loved one who is gone and still smile at the memory of their love. Gratitude does not erase pain, but it makes the heart wide enough to hold both sorrow and joy together. In fact, some of the most grateful people I have met are those who have endured great suffering. They tell me, I learned to appreciate the little things because I knew what it was like to have nothing. Gratitude becomes sharper, deeper when life has tested us. It becomes not just an emotion, but a way of survival, a way of remembering that even in darkness, there is still a small flame of light. So how do we practice gratitude? It does not require wealth or education or even perfect health. Gratitude requires only a willingness to notice. You can begin right now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think of one thing you are grateful for in this moment. Maybe it is your breath. Maybe it is your beating heart. Maybe it is the fact that you have lived long enough to hear these words. That is already enough. If you want a simple daily practice, try this. Each morning, before you reach for your phone, before you read the news, whisper to yourself 3 things you are grateful for. They can be as small as the smell of coffee, the roof over my head, or the smile of someone I love. At first, it may feel forced, but over time, your mind will change. You will begin to notice more, and the more you notice, the more grateful you become. In the end, gratitude is not about ignoring suffering. It is about remembering that life is always bigger than our suffering. Gratitude gives us the strength to carry both the pain and the beauty together. It teaches us to walk through storms with a calm heart, to find light even in the shadows. So if you do only one thing today, take 1 minute to practice gratitude. Write down 3 things you are thankful for. Speak them out loud. Let your heart feel them. Gratitude does not require perfect conditions. It only requires eyes that are willing to see. And when we live with gratitude, life itself becomes a teacher, guiding us gently back to peace. One of the hardest lessons in life, and perhaps one of the most liberating, is learning how to let go. We live much of our lives trying to controlling our work, our children, our health, even the emotions of those around us. But the more tightly we grip, the more exhausted we become. The Buddha once taught, the root of suffering is attachment, and we know this to be true. When we cling to the idea that life must unfold exactly as we wish, disappointment becomes inevitable. Imagine standing in the middle of a river. If you fight against the current, struggling to push upstream, your body will quickly tire. But if you relax, if you allow the water to carry you, you travel farther with less effort. Life is the same. When we resist its flow, we suffer. When we learn to go with it, we find that life often carries us to places we could not have imagined. In relationships, this truth becomes especially clear. We often want our spouse, our children, our friends to act in a certain way, to fit into our blueprint. We think, he should do this, she should say that, but no one can live inside someone else's drawing. When we let go of rigid expectations, something beautiful happens. We begin to see our loved ones as they really are. And in that acceptance, true love has the space to grow. This lesson extends beyond relationships into the realm of work and success. Many times we mourn opportunities that slipped away or plans that collapsed. But how often have those detours led us somewhere meaningful? I once met a man who lost his job at 55. For months, he felt like his life had ended. He told me, "Without my work, I am nothing." But a few years later, he had opened a small garden shop. He spent his days among flowers and plants, and for the first time in decades, he told me, "I feel alive." Letting go did not mean failure. It meant making space for a new path to emerge. Our greatest resistance often comes during times of crisis, illness, loss, unexpected change. Our first instinct is to fight, to demand that life return to how it was. But sometimes peace only arrives when we accept what is. A woman with a chronic illness once told me, "I thought my life was over. But when I stopped fighting and started noticing the small joys, my days became full again." She did not give up. She adapted. Letting go did not mean surrendering to despair. It meant discovering strength and flexibility. Modern psychology has confirmed what spiritual teachers have long known. When we reduce our need for control, our stress decreases. The brain calms down. The autonomic nervous system returns to balance. People who practice meditation and mindfulness are not spared from difficulties. They lose jobs, they get sick, they grieve just like anyone else, but they respond differently. They have learned how to let go of the illusion of control, and in doing so, they suffer less. This does not mean we sit back and do nothing. Letting go is not the same as giving up. It means doing our best and then releasing the outcome. It means planting seeds in the soil and trusting that some will grow, even if not all of them do. It means showing up fully for life, without demanding that life always show up on our terms. Here in America, we are taught to believe that we can control everything: our destiny, our bodies, even the future itself. And while determination has its place, it can also become a prison. Life has a rhythm far greater than our individual plans. Seasons change, rivers flow, leaves fall and return again. When we align ourselves with these natural rhythms, we suffer less. We see that letting go is not losing control, but stepping into harmony with life itself. I often share this practice with my students. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, pause and breathe. As you inhale, say quietly to yourself, "I do my best." As you exhale, whisper, "I let go." Repeat this a few times. Notice how your shoulders drop, how your chest feels lighter. It is a small ritual, but it creates a shift. You are reminding yourself that you are not meant to carry the entire weight of the universe. I recall one elderly gentleman who had lost his wife after 40 years of marriage. His grief was deep, and he admitted, "I can't let go." I replay her final days in my mind again and again. I told him, "You don't need to let go of her love. That will always remain. What you can let go of is the belief that things could have been different. You did your best. She knew you loved her." Slowly, he began to see that letting go did not mean forgetting. It meant carrying her love forward without being crushed by regret. Letting go and trusting the process of life is perhaps the bravest act we can undertake in our later years. We may not know what tomorrow brings. Our bodies may not be what they once were. But if we can learn to say, "I will walk with life, not against it," then peace begins to grow. So when you find yourself tangled in stress, trying to control what cannot be controlled, pause, take a breath, whisper to yourself, "I trust the process." This doesn't mean everything will be easy, but it means you won't carry the burden of resistance. And in that letting go, you may find that life still holds surprises, gifts you would never have discovered if you had kept fighting against the current. In the end, letting go is not about weakness. It is about courage. It is about trusting that the river knows where it is going. It is about believing that even if we cannot see the whole path, the next step will appear when we are ready. And maybe, just maybe, by letting go, we discover the greatest truth of all, that peace does not come from controlling life, but from flowing with it. There is a truth that Buddhism has reminded us of again and again. No one can truly harm us unless we allow them to. People may say hurtful words. They may act in ways that cause difficulty, but the deepest impact is determined by how we choose to respond. Our inner strength, that quiet, unshakable center within, is what keeps us steady. Think of an oak tree standing in the middle of a storm. The winds roar, the branches shake, but the tree remains rooted because its roots run deep into the soil. Our lives are full of storms, illness, disagreements, financial worries, unexpected changes. But like the oak, we can remain grounded when we have cultivated deep roots within ourselves. Those roots are meditation, mindfulness, gratitude, compassion, and here is the hopeful part. Inner strength is not something you are either born with or not. It is something you can grow, slowly, day by day. It is not built in the grand, heroic moments, but in the small, ordinary practices of everyday life. Sitting quietly for 5 minutes each morning, breathing deeply when frustration rises, writing down what you are thankful for, speaking kindly when it would be easier to criticize. Each of these acts is like watering the roots of the oak. Over time, the roots deepen, and the storms no longer shake you as they once did. I once worked with a woman in her late 60s who had gone through a painful divorce. She told me, "I feel like my whole identity has been taken away." She was shaky, anxious, and unsure how to rebuild her life. We began with the simplest practice, sitting in silence, breathing, repeating quietly, "I am here. I am enough." Weeks later, she came back with a smile. "The storms are still there," she said, "but I feel less tossed about. I feel like I can breathe again." That is the fruit of inner strength. Not that storms disappear, but that they no longer define you. Living with inner strength is deeply connected to living in harmony with nature. because nature itself is our greatest teacher. Watch the sunrise, it doesn't hurry. Watch the river, it doesn't cling to one place, it moves forward with grace. Watch the trees, they shed their leaves in autumn without regret, and in spring new growth comes naturally. Every season of nature mirrors a season in our lives. Spring teaches us beginnings, summer teaches us joy and fullness, autumn teaches us letting go, winter teaches us rest. When we resist these seasons in our own life, when we demand that it always be spring or summer, we suffer. But when we learn to live in rhythm with nature, we find balance. I often tell my students, spend time outdoors every day if you can. Walk barefoot on the grass. Breathe in the scent of the earth. Listen to the sound of the wind in the trees. In those moments, we realize something profound. We are not separate from nature. We are nature. Caring for the earth is caring for ourselves. And the more we reconnect with the natural world, the easier it becomes to find inner peace. Modern science supports this as well. Studies show that spending time in nature lowers stress hormones, improves mood, even strengthens the immune system. A simple walk among trees can reduce anxiety more effectively than many man-made interventions. Our ancestors knew this intuitively. Now science is finally catching up to confirm what the body and spirit already understood. We need the earth as much as the earth needs us. So inner strength and harmony with nature go hand in hand. One grows the other. When we cultivate calm within, we see nature more clearly. When we step into nature, it feeds the calm within us. Together, they create a cycle of healing. But you may ask, how do I begin? Begin simply. Each morning, step outside, even for just a minute. Feel the air on your skin. Thank the sun for rising. In the evening, step out again. Notice the stars or the silence of the night. These practices may seem small, but they are doorways back to balance. They remind us that inner peace is not something far away, but something present in each breath, in each season, in each moment of awareness. I remember a man who came to me exhausted by stress. He said, I try meditation, but my mind won't stop racing. So I suggested something else. Don't force meditation. Instead, sit outside and watch the sunset for 10 minutes. Just notice the colors. Breathe with the rhythm of the sky. A month later, he returned, glowing. I didn't think it would work, he admitted, but it calmed me. It gave me peace. Sometimes the path to inner strength begins not on a cushion, but under the open sky. Inner strength is not about control. It is about trust. Trusting that, like the oak tree, you can remain grounded. Trusting that, like the river, you can move forward even when you cannot see the whole path. Trusting that, like the seasons, you can let go and begin again. So when life feels heavy, return to the basics. Breathe, walk in nature. Remember your roots. Every storm will pass, and when it does, you will find yourself stronger, calmer, more alive than before. If today's message touched your heart, take a moment to reflect. What root are you watering in your own life? What season are you in right now? Spring, summer, autumn, or winter? And how might gratitude, mindfulness, and nature help you through it? If this video reminded you of the power of inner peace and the gift of healing the heart, share your thoughts in the comments below. Every story, every reflection is a light for someone else who may be searching for peace. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who may need it. Each week, I'll be here again, like an old friend with a cup of tea, sharing gentle reminders on how to live with calm and strength. Because remember, peace is not given to us by the world. Peace is something we cultivate within and then offer back to the world. And that offering, that ripple of calm, might just be the healing someone else has been waiting for.